Let's talk about homework. If you look in your workbook, we've already played around with layer effects, and we already did the masking job of the car into the field. Some better than others. Mine was pretty pathetic in that video demo. So your assessments, and I'm going to start with something that's for everyone. That is going to be Project 7C. And the directions say choose, there's a bunch of these images in your workbook file, but choose one to be your central image. These are all of a dog. And then you're going to copy the other 4 images, position them in a layer stack on your main one. You are going to transform them, shrink them down, position them as needed, and then you're going to use layer masking on those layers, the other 4 images, to create a seamless look. And the tip is to paint with a large fuzzy brush on the edges to blend the edges. So you can see the example in the workbook of the Bridget collage of how they got these different photos kind of look aesthetically pleasing together. So that is the homework due by the start of class next week, so by 8 a.m. on October 19th. This next part I have to record because if you're in class with me, we're going to be doing Project 7D in class and printing those out. So if you're absent that day, you're going to need to upload them or email them specifically. And if you are an online student, I'm going to give you a Dropbox. So I'm asking you to just do 3 words. It talks about 5 in our workbook, but start with an 8.5 by 11 document. Create text layers of 3 different words that you want to kind of illustrate with imagery inside of them. So an example would be the word hot, and then you go and find some flames and you put the flames inside the letters H-O-T. So again, 3 of those. For my in-person class, if you're absent and listening to this video for that reason, you will email it to me. For my online class, I will have a Dropbox for you. So both of those things are going to be due this week. And I just want to talk to you about next week because there is no new topic. Next week is a midterm test. I use that term lightly. It's 20 questions and it's open book, open workbook, open notes, whatever you need. 20 questions on Blackboard. So it's pretty straightforward. And you have 2 hours to take it, which is about an hour and a half longer than you probably need, to be honest. So between now and next week at the end of class, so noon on the 19th, you have to take that midterm. Once you start taking the test, you have to continue. It is located in Learning Plan 8. I'll jump to that in just a second. Let's move on to the project because you might very well have work time right now and want to get started. This is your chance to be creative and really show me all the skills you've learned and use some critical thinking on your own to create a magazine cover. This is going to be due by the end of class next week, so by noon, which just means that if you take this class in person, when you come out next week, you have 4 hours to work. It's not due until noon. So the objectives are to use all of the cool skills you've learned so far in Photoshop, use critical thinking to create a project with limited direction, unlike our book projects where we have lots of directions, and use some creativity to complete a final project that is portfolio worthy. If you're on campus for design fundamentals and you ever pop into the Mac lab, you'll see examples of these magazine covers hanging on the back walls if you want to take a peek. So specific directions, you're going to find imagery on the web, and something is usually your primary image and then you bring other things into it. Unless, of course, you're doing like an In Touch or a People magazine cover that has lots of different people and different scenes going on. You have to use a minimum of 3 images. And since the goal of this midterm is to show me how you know how to composite, bring images in, make them look good together, challenge yourself. Don't make this so easy that it's hard to get your points. Once you find these images, you're going to adjust them as you see fit. Color balance, make them look right color-wise together. You might need to tweak levels, curves, saturation, change the opacity or blending modes, maybe use some gradients. I want you to assume that this is a cover of an actual magazine like Time or Newsweek, People Magazine, something like that. I want you to do some research and find out what the actual size is. So look up the actual specs of the magazine. For example, one that I looked up was 8.25 by 10.675. I'm pretty sure no magazine is exactly 8.5 by 11, so don't do that. I'm also, for the first time ever, going to rule out National Geographic because I find that the yellow border and the nature photography really limits creativity. So no using that option this year. You can create your own. Somebody created a book about a magazine, kind of a joke magazine, or not a joke, but based on their hunting dogs or something like that. So you can create something as well. But again, not 8.5 by 11. No magazine is that size. So at least look up the specs of a similar magazine and use those. In this project, non-destructive workflow, you need to use masking, not just cut out objects and plop them in there. The only way that could work is if it's a smart object and I can double click on the layer and get to the original one. But masking is by far the best option. Use your layer effects so we can turn those on and off and change our mind. Just work non-destructively and I'll be able to tell that when I look at your PSD. Since you're using images from the web and they're all 72 dots per inch, you're just going to make your file 72 dpi at whatever physical dimensions you found, like this right here. In real life, it obviously would be 300 because it would be commercially printed, but since we're using web images, we'll just stick to this low res look. Another thing I want you to do is look at magazines. What's on the cover of a magazine, beyond obviously the name? There's usually something like what issue it is, what date it is, what volume it is. Quite often the price is included on there. Sometimes there's a barcode. Do some research and make sure that it includes all necessary information. If you're going to put nothing on there, you better find some documentation that explains that this magazine doesn't have the price or the date or anything else, and I need to be able to confirm that. So look into that, and you're going to talk about that in your designer's statement. Make sure to submit your final Photoshop document so that I can see the layers at 72 dots per inch, and you're going to include that designer's statement talking about what you did. So 100 points, this is your midterm. 60 points are your Photoshop skills demonstrated. Use proper sizing, attention to detail, etc. 20 of the 100 points is on your designer's statement. If you don't do it, you're at an 80 already. So make sure you do the designer statement. I want you to describe the process you went through to create your image, the feelings that you hope to invoke when you came up with this magazine cover. I'm looking for a lot of detail here, not just the technical steps, but the creative steps as well. What were you hoping to accomplish? Why did you choose these images? Why did you change opacity on one or outer glow on another? Why did you do the effects that you did? Why did you do the text the way you did? Really explain your process. This is what you would be speaking to me if we sat down and went through these. So I need you to tell me all about it, and that's worth 20 points. And then the final 20 points are based on challenge. So this project that you do demonstrates the competencies of this class and the advanced competencies. Not just you know how to do a mask, but you did a great mask. You know how to do curves, but you really did your curves in a proper way, and it was to make the two pictures look similar in their color scheme, so that their midtones look like they were actually taken at the same time. I'm thinking of a magazine cover with Brad and Jen close by, and it almost seems like they're literally together in the same photo, but they aren't when you look closely. They just took two separate pictures of them, And somewhere it's very obvious. Like they always make sure that if you look at it, you can tell, oh, they're not really together. These are two different photos. But have fun with this. This is usually a really fun project. So this is due by the end of class next week. And because of that, Learning Plan 7 and 8 will be open today. So 2 things for Chapter 7, the Bridget collage, and then you're going to clip some photos into text. And then Learning Plan 8 will also be open. Again, it's just me going over what I expect in your midterm project. And also a Dropbox for it, again, due by noon next week, the 19th. And then this will be available starting 10 a.m. on Monday, and it will be available until the following Monday at noon. This is your midterm exam, 20 questions. They're worth 2 points each, open book. You have 120 minutes, and when you click on it, it should tell you this test will save and submit automatically if the time expires. And very important, once started, this test must be completed in one sitting. So if you start to take it and you've worked for 10 minutes and you walk off and watch a TV show, it will keep counting down. So block off enough time to take this test, have your books ready, whatever you might need or want, and go through it. It's strictly related to Photoshop details that are very important. As a hint, if you're comfortable with the review questions after each chapter in the workbook, you should fly through this. They're taken literally from the review questions, but only 20 of them. So that is the plan. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. And we're getting to the halfway point of, well, we are at the halfway point of the semester. So if you need anything, please reach out to me. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful week, and let me know if you need anything.